Hey everybody, welcome to Yays and Booze. A little bit, well, first of all, a little throwback of a set here. This is where I streamed on the Stash Club channel for Crown Jewel. Figured I'd just stay right here. I got everything set up. Let's run a little comfy Yays and Booze, huh? I'm kind of didn't realize it'd be blending into the couch, but that's okay. It's not gonna be easy for Photoshop in the thumbnail, but that's okay. All right, before we get started, you know the drill. Please like, subscribe, turn on the bell for notifications, hit subscribe. Did I say that already? We're creeping up on 10K. It'd be really cool to hit that this week. That'd be fun. I have a Patreon that I put out match watch-alongs on. Check that out. All right, let's get started here. First one, the homage of moves Cena and Styles busted out. It just felt good. We're starting off with a huge Australian yay. I love this match. I can't wait to chop it up with Jimmy on Tuesday or Wednesday for the podcast. Now, I'll get it out of the way. I think some, criticisms of this match I can see that I want to get out in front of already is that they're relying on nostalgia and paying homage and using other people's moves and blah, blah, blah. And there's actually two things I want to get in front of. So the first thing is I think people are going to say that they are haters of this match. I'm sure there's some are going to say this match relied heavy on all that stuff. And to that point where I think that's what made this match special. But we have seen a couple of past Cena matches, the match with Sammy where he pulled out a spear and attempted an RKO and did a bunch of other people's moves, did a lot of Kurt Angle moves. I think this should be the last one that Cena does that he pulls out a bunch of homage moves. While I love it, I think it's great. I think it is specifically special for this match, and I don't want him to keep doing it to, one, water down how special this match was, and then I think the critics would be almost not proven right, but they'd have more ammo in terms of he's just cheap pop with RKO and all this stuff. While I don't agree with that in the sense that is a cheap pop for this match, just want to get out ahead and say I'm expecting that criticism, and I do at least think that John Cena should not keep going to that well. So I love it for here, and I loved it when he done it in the past, but he cannot keep doing it because I don't want it to be less special. Does that make sense? Second thing, and I think people are being funny about this, but I do think there are going to be actual critics that are like, John Cena can't keep using these moves because now he's burying these moves because Cody and AJ were Cena and AJ, was I saying Cody? Cena and AJ keep kicking out of these moves, and it almost buries the tombstone or the sweet chin music. While again, I think this is a case of one, silly, fun wrestling. You have to take it with a grain of salt. And two, which is of I'm always in the camp, and I think if you're a wrestling fan, you just kind of always know this. The finisher and the signature move is the strongest when done by the person whose finisher / signature move is. If John Cena hits a spear or a pedigree or I don't know what else he did, an RKO, it's not as powerful as when a Randy and Edge or whoever else, a Triple H, are doing these moves. So I think that's the wrestling is silly. You gotta buy in. You gotta buy in. I don't know. I don't understand people buying into wrestling and that's where they stop. You're well, wait a minute. This logic. You can't start pinpointing logic in different places that you just want to. Not that I've been seeing super haters of this match, but I think those are just two things worth bringing up for the fairness of it, because I'm gonna spend the rest of this video praising this match because there's someone later that says it's a match of your contender. This match rocked. I loved it. I'm a sucker. I'm not even that I have to be a sucker for the nostalgia and the homage. I think the homage was really well done. I do have a list on my phone, some posted on Reddit, of every single homage done. I'm going to read it now. Cena did 8, seemingly noted. The skull-crushing finale from The Miz, the accolade from Rusev, the walls of Jericho from Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho mentioned Sister Abigail by Bray Wyatt, which was what a moment. Genuinely might be moment of the year. It was beautiful. It was so ceremonious and I don't know. It was emotional. The second rope DDT by Orton, the RKO by Orton, chokeslam by Kane / Undertaker. Probably just more notably Undertaker in this specific sense. Tombstone pile driver also by the Undertaker. And then he teased a punt kick, a 619, and a pedigree, which I'll tell you, I would have lost my mind. My neighbors would have called the police if they heard me screaming if he actually hit a 619. I do like to think that it was another on-the-fly call, maybe similar to when Cena attempted the RKO in the Sammy match, which one, seems like he might have perfected it to put it in this match. And then two, I would like to think that the crowd's chanting for 619. Me and Ray had a little thing let's do the tease. And the tease to the middle rope is all I needed. AJ Styles pulled out Scorpion Death Drop from Sting, Coquina Clutch from Samoa Joe, Angel Wings by Christopher Daniels, Dead Eye from Adam Page, or a Fade to Black by Frankie Kazarian, Attitude Adjustment from John Cena, and then Sweet Chin music by Shawn Michaels. The crowd also point for them. They lit up the Fireflies for the Sister Abigail. Yeah, just absolutely insane. I really also appreciate just how TNA coded and driven AJ was in this match. We haven't even talked. No, this is like a full review. This is still Yays and Booze, but I could talk at nauseum. My friends better hope they don't hang out with me today. It's still Saturday. I hope I see my friends today. I'm gonna be talking all night about Cena AJ and how sick it was. But him coming out from, I think I saw on Twitter, it was, well, one, he was wearing this that Michael Cole noted on the post show, or someone noted on the post show. It wasn't Michael Cole, but AJ Styles wore this on the cover of a PWI magazine like back in the day, and they like speculated a fantasy match between the two top guys of each company, Cena and AJ. And also, I think even cooler is 20 years ago, TNA's debut on Spike TV, this was the gear that AJ Styles was wearing. When he came out in like the, I guess not trunks, but the briefs or whatever, so sick, dude. I love it. Bullet Club mention in the intro. It seemed like it was a little intro written by Cena. Just beautiful storytelling. How can you not be romantic about pro wrestling? This shit rocked. And it was all nostalgia and callbacks and homage, like none of it done in a cheap way. Everything felt so authentic and true to both of them. And again, like I was saying, so cool to have AJ so TNA coded, especially announcing, you know, his retirement coming up at the end of 2026, pulling out moves from a Frank Kazarian, Samoa Joe, Sting, you know, it's really, really cool. And it was cool that, you know, granted WWE and TNA are in bed together at this point. So not that WWE would need to shy away from like, you know, mentions, but like, you know, mentioning everything from TNA and even going far, you know, to mention a Jericho for Cena was really cool. They didn't hold back. Did not mention Frankie Kazarian though. Justice for Frankie Kazarian. All right, we're going to finally move on. I could spend the rest of this video talking about this match. I think we'll touch back on it later in the video, but what a match. What a match. Seth winning was the right choice. Great match as well. God, Crown Jewel rocked. This match was so good, and I do agree. I won't talk about, I'll stick to what specifically the yay and boo is, but this is getting a yay. I think Seth was absolutely the right choice. He had everything to lose. Cody didn't need it. Cody was just fighting because he was the world champion, the top dog, and him and Seth did have some really good storytelling, but Seth winning without the vision, and the little, you know, Paul Heyman kind of won, proving that he is probably the actual leader, backstage being like, hey, even if Seth Rollins is begging for our help, we are not helping him tonight. Seth Rollins needs to prove to us, me, everyone that he's the guy and he can beat Cody and that he deserves to be in here and he deserves for me to, I don't know, trust in him and whatever and prove everything. Seth had everything to prove and everything to lose, everything to gain in this match, even in like a non-kayfabe story. Well, I guess it's all still kayfabe where Seth, 0-4 or whatever against Cody, 0-22 if you're counting house shows, needed this win. I've been a Seth Rollins every month. It's like Seth Rollins is the greatest in the world. Next month is like Seth is overrated. He's the most overrated wrestler. He's the worst. Seth has been the workhorse, the staple, the guy in WWE, the most reliable for years. He deserves all his flowers. He's been one of the best wrestlers on the planet for so long. People try to discredit him for whatever reason. I don't get the Seth haters. I've never been a Seth hater in my life, and I'm proud to say that he's always been the guy, and he needed this win, kayfabe-wise, whatever-wise, for one to like, I think there's another comment in here, to shut haters up, to shut critics up, and prove like, hey, I'm still the guy. I'm still here. I'm still the one that like can get the nod from the back and trusted and relied on. It's not everything Cody. Cody's not the only QB1. I'm Jimmy Garoppolo too. Not the best quarterback example. And two, I really like the storytelling. I like there was no interference, but the storytelling between the Watch and Seth at first, like, not using the Watch because he was like, I can beat him. And the storytelling of after the grueling match, we're very towards the end. These two have been going for what felt like, I don't know, 20 minutes at that point. And Seth now is feeling desperate. It's toward the end of the match. Cody keeps kicking out and he's like, well, I don't have my vision. I'm not, am I actually confident in myself? Do I lack the confidence? I am finally kind of giving up, seeming like, you know, fighting his own emotions and mindset with it. Him giving up, him taking the coward's way out and being like, if I don't have the vision, I need some help. Using the Watch to beat Cody. He can't win fully clean. He still needs something. He still needs some sort of help. He couldn't fully do it. I think that's going to be the story kind of going forward, whether we stick with Cody or whatever, or just the vision, is I think Seth is going to be uneasy about himself. Or at least I hope this is the case of, I still had to cheat. I couldn't win straight up. Like, I still need some help. Am I who I say I am? Like a little bit of a story of imposter syndrome from Seth. I think will be really, really interesting. Yeah, God, what a great storytelling these matches. What a show. There's even stuff like in the Yays and Boos we're not going to mention. Kabuki Warriors versus Rhea Io. I don't know if there's a hot take in here about it, but like that shit rocked. We'll move on. It's time to end Tiffy time. How every match of hers is, quote, just there. You can blame just so many in their opponents and booking. What? I think I understand what you're saying. I think you're just over Tiffy time and saying that Tiffy time is boring. As of right now, I'm giving it a boo. Now, look, I fully agree that like the Tiffy booking hasn't been great, and she's been a pretty lackluster champion. I still think Tiffany is great in the ring. I think there was another yay and boo, I don't have it in here, but like, or a hot take, I should say, that is lumped in here where people are saying like, oh, Tiffany's moveset is just, it's basic. They didn't really go above and beyond in this match, and Stephanie was carrying and da-da-da. And they did make this one note that like, I get what they were saying. I don't love it where they were like, and Tiffany's first time in a ring was only 4 years ago. Isn't that crazy? And it's like, yeah, I guess. Like, sure, she has a success story of like, I don't know if it was the NIL program, but of like the recruitment program or whatever, a performance center success story, if you want to put it that way. Like, sure, great. And then they were talking about Stephanie, and they're like, Stephanie only debuted in WWE 18 whatever months ago. And it's like, well, yeah, but I feel like Stephanie Bakera's probably been wrestling for like most of her life. They didn't care to mention that. I don't know. There's just I don't know. And I don't know where I lie on this. I'm just kind of presenting the potential problem, and, you know, for maybe you to think about and comment on, but it kind of goes to the discussion of WWE really focusing on NIL or athletes or performance center homegrown talent, as opposed to indie wrestlers who work their way up and have been grinding for 5, 10, 15, 20 years to really, well, one, finally make it to WWE, but like, then you have all this like experience on your belt and storytelling, where I feel like people coming into the WWE who maybe didn't grow up, like I'm fully in the camp that you can learn this. You can learn the sport, this piece of art and entertainment, and you can get the story to look at Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair is great with her in-ring storytelling, but I do think maybe, and this is me like maybe looking too much into it, but I think there is sometimes like that emotion and that like, I don't know, piece of wrestling that like, and maybe I'm just spouting bullshit, but like, I think there might be a piece of wrestling that you can't really teach, and it comes through like experience of like grinding and like, or just experience like in the ring at different places than the performance center, and growing at different places and learning from different places that kind of build you into a certain type of wrestler. And Tiffany does very much like seem and wrestle like a WWE performance, like lab created person. Now, I do think Tiffany is great. I'll say I think she is very talented. She has a success story, but I think that's where people, and I did use the term and maybe I lean on like, you know, I kind of prefer like, you know, indie, sorry, I thought my camera stopped working, like indie stories and wrestlers who worked their way up and weren't just like scouted because they, you know, were a failed D2, D3 athlete. You know what I mean? No, I was supposed to be offensive. I just got how it is. I don't love like WWE just being like, or wrestling in general just being a backup for athletes. Like I don't know, and maybe none of this matters. Maybe it's just me just being a fucking mark or whatever about it, and I hate that term. I don't know. Like I said, I'm just kind of presenting the question. I don't have a firm stance on it, but like, I'm not even sure if that's like what this person who submitted this yay and boo is super getting at, but if I didn't say it already, I'm going to give this a boo for now, but I kind of went on that whole different conversation tangent. I'm curious where people in the comments lean on that in terms of these homegrown, you know, athletes learning WWE versus like, you know, a Stephanie Vaquer who has grinded her whole life to become the wrestler she is today, to finally make it to this big stage. And she has all this like experience, like otherworldly experience, different match types, different wrestling, different storytelling, different emotional storytelling than a Tiffany Stratton might have. And this is all hypothetical, grain of salt and everything. We're just talking and chit-chatting and just saying, you know what I mean? All right, we're going to move on. I don't even know if I really got to the point of that hot take. If we were to single one out, Cena's wrestling soulmate is AJ Styles and not CM Punk. This isn't a recency bias take, by the way. I grew up watching in the Ruthless Aggression era, so IMO, his greatest rival is Edge, but that's besides the hot take. I don't disagree. If we're talking straight in ring wise, wrestling soulmate, which I think, oh yeah, you did mention wrestling soulmate. It's gotta be AJ Styles. Now, Punk is like a close second. I'm also trying not to be recency bias here, but I'm giving this a yay. And of course, the conversation is always like Edge or Orton. And I think Edge is even like closer in that conversation, but Orton, I think, gets talked about. There is a lot of validity and credit to the Orton-Cena rivalry. I think in kayfabe on paper, they are the two greatest rivals. The amount of matches, one-on-one they've had. They've had their whole career facing each other for WWE championships and, whatever. However, most, if not, dare I say, all of those matches are groundbreaking, phenomenal pieces of work. Sure, there are standouts in their rivalry for sure, but the countless matches they've had, none of those matches get talked about nearly as much as one match of an AJ Cena feud or even a Cena Punk feud, you know? So while yes, history-wise, I think Randy Orton is his kayfabe wrestling rival, but if we're talking real, just in-ring chemistry soulmate, it is Punk or AJ, and especially after that match and after seeing the Cena Punk match, which granted it was a different Cena in terms of him being a heel, I think I'm planting my flag in that in-ring soulmate, it's AJ Styles. So this is getting a yay. Hell yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. The rhythm of the event was perfect. I just wish we had a comeback of someone like Bianca Belair or someone like that. I had a similar feeling, I guess. I'm going to ultimately give this a boo. I'll explain why. But, I had a similar feeling. Just being a wrestling fan, I always pop for a surprise or a crazy entrance or, someone to now challenge Seth. When Seth was celebrating, I thought we were getting someone coming in. Not that I want it to be Brock, but, I was expecting maybe a Brock or, I don't know, someone. And it didn't happen. We just got, sent off with the show. And I was just hey, I don't need to, have these expectations of, everything needs to be a surprise and with a big, oh, someone's back and da-da. This card, this show was overall very, very good. It kicked WrestlePalooza's ass. It almost felt like a, hey, my bad for WrestlePalooza. Would I have loved a Bianca Belair come back or something? Sure, absolutely. But I think this match was good enough where we didn't need a surprise or whatever. Now, in terms of the rhythm I agree with. I'm going to give this vote. The rhythm of the show was perfect. So I will give this a yay. But I guess the reason I'm giving it a boo is because expecting to come. Well, yeah, okay. I'm staying where the comeback boo, but I was kind of on your side. But hindsight 2020, yay for the sake of the match. The card flowed perfect. I think Roman and Bronson Reed was a fantastic opener. Going into Stephanie Tiffany was really good. I think that match needed more time. That might even go to the Tiffany hot take, where I think if those two got more time, it would have hit another gear. But Stephanie getting that win was massive. And then you had Cena AJ, which just stole the show. Then I'll tell you what, Kabuki Warriors versus Rhea and Io, they were put in the toughest spot on the card. They were following AJ and Cena, and then right before the main event. Now, normally the crowd's usually tired. Me, who just went on a very emotional roller coaster with Cena AJ, and I was tired. It's kind of going into that match oh, geez. But listen, shout out the crowd. Again, I think there's another take about the crowd. Shout out the crowd for staying in it. Shout out Rhea, Io, Asuka, and Kairi for putting down a banger. That match was so good. It got me right back into it immediately. And also, I think smart of WWE to then layer in the Australian Rhea Ripley when her music hit. Big pop, biggest star in the world. So it made sense to keep the crowd alive with a hometown hero like Rhea. And then closing out the show with Cody Seth, which I thought was also just a great match. A lot of match of the week contenders in this event. I'll tell you that. Speaking of the crowd, best crowd of the year. I had to review some stuff. I would definitely have to look back at some other PLEs, but the crowds outside the US are always killer. This crowd rocked. They were on fire for pretty much the whole time. So I'm giving this a pretty quick yay. Shout out Australia, Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. And you know the call and response. As of now, Crown Jewel is a top 3 PLE in 2025. Now, PLE just counting, WWE events. Yeah, I think that's pretty solid to say. Again, as someone who I'd have to refresh myself and look at some of the PLEs, but just judging off the top of my head, top 3 is not crazy. I'm not sure what would be 2 or 1. I have to kind of review some stuff, but yeah, I'll give this also a pretty quick yay. I think because I was so long-winded at the beginning of this episode, we can knock out some quick yays and boos here, but Crown Jewel rocked. I think I gave it a 8.5 for an entire show out of 10. I think people's the card was stacked, but people's expectations were also because it was champion versus champion. I was someone who I don't like the champion versus champion things. It kind of takes away the stakes, but I think in both matches they sold it very well between Stephanie's emotion for winning it and kind of the bigger story about the Crown Crown Jewel Championship. The Crown Jewel Championship, I still don't give a shit about. It's ridiculous. It's goofy, but it is just kind of especially with Triple H coming out, it is like a sign of like, you're that person right now. We believe in you. It's a big, to me, it's a big backstage business, whatever you want to call it, nod that I think is the bigger implication, achievement, whatever you want to say, as opposed to like the championship itself, and they just need a championship to call it something. I don't know. First off, great show. I think the right people won, but I almost think Seth losing and kicked out of the division would have been a more interesting / compelling story. Okay, so I also had a similar thought before the match started. I was kind of speculating on the winner and loser. I almost hate giving this like a yay or a boo, because this is like a hindsight thing. I'm gonna give this a boo only because like I do think we're gonna continue that story, and this isn't the end of Paul Heyman being like gaslighty and manipulative and threatening and dangling that like, I'm gonna kick you out and you have to prove your loyalty to me. So I think we're gonna keep going with that. However, I do see where you're coming from, and I was in the same camp as well. While Seth had everything to gain, he also had everything to lose. And isn't that almost a more of a compelling story, like you're saying, is like seeing Seth lose, and then you have all this like story and whatever to tell between like him and the Brawns in terms of whose side are they going to take. Paul Heyman, is he going to bring in someone new? Is Brock going to be involved? How are they going to portray, you know, Paul Heyman kicking out Seth? Like, that is really interesting to see. And I don't think we're going to like, I don't think we're away from that. Like, give this Vision story more time. I think we can't get to that, because I fully agree. That was like, whoa, like especially that backstage segment with Paul Heyman being like, you know, fellas, like, you know, we're not going out to help him. It's do or die. He's out alone. He has to prove himself to us. So it would have been really interesting to see what the fallout from that would have been. But also, I think like I was kind of saying, I won't go too much in depth because I already kind of covered it. But this win, for a multitude of kayfabe and non-kayfabe reasons, was way more important for Seth. So I think you can get this win over Cody, solidify himself and improve himself wrong from the critics, and show that he's still that guy, the workhorse, one of the best wrestlers in the world. And then later down the road, you can still kind of have more of this Vision story. But like, I think it was worth it getting, because like I think Cody not needing the win outweighed doing the Seth Vision stuff now. You know, I don't know if that made sense, but like a Cody, that would have equated to a Cody win. And I do think the better move is the Seth win. And then, yeah, I'm kind of talking in circles at this point, but you get what I'm saying. Did I give this a boo? It's a boo, but like fully, we were on the same page, like going into this match for the whole night. All right, last one here. I feel like I've been talking for hours. AJ Styles versus John Cena is 10,000% match of the year. Listen, I'm not staking my claim on match of the year, but I'll tell you what, it's going to be up there in the conversation come Stashy Awards at the end of the year. So this is getting a yay. I'm not saying a yay in terms like this is my pick, but like, man, also like profile picture with AJ Styles checks out. But yeah, no, I'm not going to go on my whole thing. I'm just going to kind of give this a yay, but I could talk about this match ad nauseum. I already did at the beginning of this video. What a match. It all the feels, man. So much emotion. All right, the last thing I'll say about it that I didn't really touch upon. First of all, even after the match and them raising each other's hands, which like you kind of sat there and was like, wow, this actually is one, the last time we're ever getting these wrestling soulmates of Cena AJ. Two, one of the last biggest AJ Styles matches because he's retiring in 2026. Three, obviously, as Cena was walking out, you kind of realize like, oh, like as good as this match was, this is another countdown of the Cena retirement tour. And as he was walking out, he turned around, flashed the 4 more dates left, which is just like, seeing that, and again, all props in the world to Rhea, Io, Kyrie, and Asuka for like coming off of that like emotional roller coaster. But like Cena flashing the 4, we have 4 dates left. Confirmed is in DC for his last match. He has one in Boston. I'm not looking up the dates right now, but like I'd imagine maybe Survivor Series. Maybe he's not me at Survivor Series. I don't know, but he has a couple other dates booked. 4 more dates. Don't know how many of those are going to be matches. Hopefully all 4 of them. Hopefully there's a Dom Mysterio, a Gunther, whoever else in terms of matches. But yeah, you just kind of sat there and was like, God, that was it was one of the best matches of the year, if not the best match, like you're saying. And you sit there and just like, but damn it, what cost? I think it was worth it. But damn, time comes for us all. Folks, I'll leave you with that. This is Yays and Booze. That was Yays and Booze. Please leave some hot takes in the comments that we didn't discuss. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with today? Check out my Patreon for match watch long. Subscribe. Turn on the bell for notifications. Check out some of my stuff on the channel. Stash Club stuff. You get it. Shout out everyone that was in the stream today over on the Stash Club channel. Really successful stream. That rocked. Fun to hang out with everyone. And yeah, until next time, folks, I'll see you next time. Thanks for being here. Peace.